And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Quote the Raven for May 28th, 2020, episode 22 of season 2. And this week is positively previews and reviews. And let's see. One of our regular viewers, John Norris, has already said good evening. Hello, everyone. Hello, John. Good to see you. And let's see what's going on this fine week here. We know that Diamond has gotten back into business and then distributing books, and we got our first full order this week. So we'll be reviewing some of the things that we got this week from the comic shop, as well as their new catalog, because there have been some changes made. We'll do a little bit of discussion of that. And we'll do some more crowdfunding discussion and question and answers and stuff like that. But first, as always, our notice. In accordance with the new COPPA regulations, this episode of Quoth the Raven is intended for ages 16 and up. While some of the content we will feature is kid-friendly, the context of the episode is to address and educate older teens and adults, to inform them of said content for them to research as consumers in service of their youth, i.e., in other words, parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, teachers, librarians, etc. There is the possibility of adult language present on the episode as well. And Ted Davies Artistry says good evening as well. Hello, Ted. Kind of been a busy week. Had a lot of stuff to do this week, running errands and spending a lot of time. Things on the Air Force, on the Army base here in South Carolina, where my father gets his medication. They did things different because of the coronavirus. Now you turn in your prescriptions and let them have your cell phone number so they can call you to let you know, text you to let you know when to come get your medicine. And then they come out from the pharmacy outside and give it to you in a bag instead of having people waiting around in the pharmacy area, which makes sense. But it was kind of a weird thing because we had to wait like 4 hours for that. So like that was a little bit weird earlier this week. But let's see what we got here for questions this week. Our first question of the night is from Santos Rodriguez, one of our regular viewers from Round Lake, Illinois. He says, you keep promising to review the series Black Science from Rick Remender and Image Comics. When are you going to get to that? Starting next week. I know I've been promising to do that. I just keep forgetting to do it. And it's like, I have to read the whole series and stuff like that. So maybe what I'll just do is try and do it where I do one graphic novel each week. Might be the better way to do it. So we'll try that starting next week. Okay, Santos? Our next question is from Miguel Asar, who's actually another person I knew in Illinois when I lived in Illinois. He was students, classmates with me and Santos, or Santos and I. He says, you do quite a lot of modern comics reviews, but I haven't seen any classic runs or singles issues unless they are in trades. Any particular reason why or why not? Also, whatever happened to Charger the Ram? Which is not an unexpected question. That was the comic strip I did in high school, meaning Charger. But, well, Miguel or Mike, whichever you prefer these days, the reason I haven't done the back issues so much is I wasn't really sure if that, with the amount of stuff I tend to review with the modern, whether or not people were really interested in that. You're really the first person who's asked me about doing old school classic stuff that's not, in single issues. But it's a valid possibility in the future. I'll have to think about that. And if people who are my regular viewers want to see more of that, just email me at the address on the screen, QuothTheRavenLBR72@gmail.com, and let me know if that's a segment that you guys want to see in the future of me doing a classic storyline or a classic issue from the past. Might be the best way to get me to review some Marvel books, but we'll see. Okay. Our next question. Oh, and I should say, as far as Charge of the Ram, he's around. Eventually, I'll hopefully get a storyline done with him again. Okay, next question. A different Mike. He asks, do you think that DC not making their own comics catalog separate from Diamond anymore is going to be an improvement or a hindrance to retailers? And do you think that Marvel will follow suit? For those of you who don't know, this week's previews did not have a separate catalog for Diamond or for DC or Marvel, and DC has announced that they're only going to do their regular previews catalog digitally. And I think you got to go to dccomics.com/connect or something like that to go get that magazine downloaded. I don't know if that's something that's going to remain the status quo in the future. I think it's kind of like an experimentation given what has happened. It's a lot of money that both DC and Marvel invest to print those out and ship them out. And if they can eliminate that cost, it might be more beneficial, at least for their bottom line. And given that many people tend to prefer to go digital for stuff like that, and they don't want to pay for the catalog anyway, it might be where they go. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But it's certainly a possibility. Next question is from Angela. And she's my ex-comics retailer, and she asks, did you miss not being able to go to visit your local comic shop during the pandemic? Well, the reality is I could go to visit my comic shop during the pandemic. It was never really completely closed. They had curbside service. So if I had wanted to go and get like back issues, which I did send them a list of back issues. Unfortunately, they didn't have anything in stock, but if they'd had something in stock, yes, I would have gone. As far as getting there and getting the books and coming home, but even now, it's just a matter of going in, getting your stuff, paying your tab and leaving. It's not like it's a social gathering place for me, unfortunately. It's not like it was when I was a kid at all. Part of it's probably when I go, because I go around lunchtime. A lot of people are still at work, or if they're there to get their stuff and get out so they can get back to work. That makes a difference. But the only time I really talk at the store, if I'm not talking to one of the workers, is if I'm a guest creator there. Then I tend to be more socially interactive with the clientele, and there's actually enough clientele to genuinely have real conversation. So it's more of it's just, it's not so much that I miss or don't miss it. Do I miss not having that type of community in comic shops? Yes, but I haven't seen that type of community since I was in college, to be honest. And I'm in my late 40s now, so that's just my experience. Other people, your mileage may vary. Next question is from Anonymous. Are you going to have prize giveaways again, and like you did with the Pink Lemonade book and the Kid Nefarious book? Yes, hopefully starting next week. I'm waiting to get some crowdfunding stuff in the mail, It was supposed to be coming this week. It hasn't arrived yet. But hopefully I'll get that by Saturday, and then next week we'll have something to do with that. Plus, I'm thinking about doing a grab bag type deal where I might put a whole package of stuff together, kind of like a secret thing, and then we'll see what we can do with that as well. Okay? So, if you have any questions for the show, you can email them to QuothTheRaven, LBR72 @gmail.com. Subject QTR questions. Please indicate whether or not you want your name and locale read on air. Now, we're kind of going to go straight to the diamond stuff here. This week was very interesting. This is the new previews catalog. And if you can, I don't know if I can get close enough. As you can see, it says number 380 and 381 for May and June of 2020. That's presumably because we lost May due to the pandemic. We'll see if next month continues kind of a double month pattern, or they're going to go back to normal. But what was interesting was my retailer made a mistake. This is normally the order form catalog that the fan gets. He gave me the retailer's catalog originally. I've returned it to him since because I figured he needed it. There was some very interesting information in there, and I'm going to share some of it with you. Now, some of it is kind of public knowledge already, but it might help people understand a little bit about how our industry is structured the way it is, if I talk about it. So that's what we're going to do first, okay? Here we go. Now, for those of you who are not aware of the system at Diamond, what you see on the page right now is the last page of their catalog for the retailer. And there are codes for Diamond down the left-hand side. There's codes for DC. There's codes for Marvel. There's codes for Dark Horse and codes for Image listed. Now, there are also codes for IDW and Boom. And I think maybe Dynamite and Valiant as well, but they're not listed on that particular in the catalog. I think it's separate. But anyway, I'm going to give you some closer looks at each of the different segments, but I want you to understand that first off, Diamond gives a set percentage of what those discounts are. And it based on code letters that you can get anywhere from 35 to 58% discount. Most of the back of the catalog is geared towards the 35 to 45% discount instead of the standardized middle of the road 50 to 55% discount. Unless you order a set amount of overall product order, then they'll give you a higher rate. But we're going to talk about DC and Marvel having their own plateaus and Dark Horse having their own separate discount structure as well, and why this dictates how and why DC and Marvel can hold a larger retail market share in our market. Because you can't just get a straight up minimum discount from Diamond across the board. You have to spend a minimum amount of dollars to get the same level of discount from DC and Marvel as it would for the rest of the market. We're going to start with Marvel. Now, hopefully you can read this. Now, the level of money you need to spend to reach a discount that is really where you need to can make a profit for your store per unit sold, per copy sold, is a minimum of $15,000 a month in buying Marvel product to $75,000 a month average. Okay. Now, most comic shops only have 100 to 150 pull order customers, and that takes up roughly 40 to 45% of their overall orders. 45% of $15,000 is $6,750 divided by 150 customers equals $45 per customer a month. I have to ask you all, how many of you are spending $45 a month just on Marvel comics? Now, I don't buy any Marvel comics at all, so I'm genuinely curious here. I know that John Norris doesn't really buy comics that much anymore either, but back when you were buying comics, John, were you spending $45 a month just on Marvel product? Think about it. Now, when you get into that $75K, that's for your highest percentage discount for 58%, which is, a decent amount of discount. But look at that number here, $0 to under $800 a month. You get 35% discount. That eliminates roughly 35 to 40% of the small mom and pop comic shops that we used to have in the 80s and 90s, and it eliminates like the used bookstores or the mom and pop grocery stores that used to order from the retailers, or not from retailers, but from the distributors back in the day when we had multiple distribution channels. Because they don't have the space or the budget to spend much more than that as a whole for all the books, see? So they're only going to get 35% discount. Well, by the time they pay their shipping and handling, and by the time they get everything back, they're not going to make any profit on these books at 35% discount. That's one of the reasons why we don't see comics in supermarkets. We don't see comics in gas stations. We don't see them in used bookstores. We don't see them in the places that we used to regularly see them, is because this structure is prohibiting them from doing so. Now you see all these little discounts on the right. And you see a code A4 means 80% on all accounts. B4 is 70% all accounts. D4 is a standard discount. E4 is 50%. What this means is there are different titles that Marvel will release where the invoice number is one thing, but if you order these specific titles, you'll get more or less discounts on those books. In other words, if you order that big X-Men thing, that's the big whole event, and you order a set amount under a B4 code, you'll get your 70%. But the amount that they want you to do to get that 70% is an outrageous amount, and that's why you see a lot of these retailers that are basically eating books because they have to over order to get that level of a discount, and they haven't been taught as businessmen that a big discount number doesn't necessarily mean a profit margin if you can't sell what you order. John Norris replied, $45 a month just on Marvel? No way. Exactly. And you guys know me, I spend $300 to $400 a month. I don't buy any Marvel, but this is what the situation is, and this is how Marvel gets 45 to 48% of the market every month. Is because they're controlling that by dollar figures of what a retailer can budget into their orders. And Marvel does this by promoting more heavily to the audience the books that give them the discounts that they want the retailers to take, which is why they have these marketing campaigns and all those crossover events that they make. It all plays together. Now, the scary part is, as bad as Marvel is, DC's worse. Whereas it was only $800 on a year's average for Marvel. DC goes for a 6-month average invoice, and you got to have over $1,000 just to get over 35% discount. You got to score a minimum monthly order of $1,000. And yes, it's nice that they jumped from 35 to 50%, whereas Marvel had 35 and a 40 to 45 and stuff in there. That's better in that respect, but you still got to order a minimum of $1,000 a month. Now that might seem like a lot of books, and this is including both trades and singles. So most comic shops that are full-fledged comic shops can order and make these minimums. That's not the point. The point is this structure allows for the, I guess you could say, the subcontracted stores that we used to have to not exist because they can't afford that kind of investment. But we're sitting here to get that 56, 57%. Again, it was, $17K, about the same for 56% across the boards for everybody. It was $15K for Marvel, I believe. But it's $35,000 plus for 57% off. And again, they have their discount codes that are the same certain way. And some of these accounts, 35% doesn't account towards your comics plateaus. And you see that these discounts, it says doesn't count towards your comics plateaus. That's for special edition books that they want you to buy more of. They'll give you the higher discount or a certain type of discount on a higher price book, but they won't count it towards your overall budget on what you spend. Okay, that's what that means. So technically, you have to spend 15 to 27% more to get the same discounts, especially at the lower tiers, as you do with Marvel, and that's why DC's pretty staunchly stays pretty much at the number 2 level. Now, you might think everything was a standardized 50 to 55% discount because that's what it typically averages out for a comic shop owner. But like I said, this is what's keeping smaller stores from even existing in non-urban communities. A comic shop located in a town of a population of less than 15,000 people virtually has no chance in hell of existing. Whereas 25 years ago, when I lived in Oscoda, Michigan, which is about an hour's north of where Ted lives in Tawas, Michigan, that town at that time had a little over, not quite 1,100 population, a population of 1,091 people. Now it has like a population of 900 for the town. They had a local bookstore there called Read More Bookstore that averaged about $500 total for all comics every month for everybody. And it could get service from Diamond, no problem. But now they would have, if that store even exists, I can't say it does anymore, but if it did, look what they would have to spend. Instead of $500 for all comics from the entire catalog, they'd have to spend $1,000 minimum, double that just for DC, and they'd have to order $1,200 for 50%. So we're talking about $2,200 from $500. That's almost literally 500 times, what you spent. 500% of what you used to spend. And that's not just because comics went from $1 in the 90s to $5 in the present day. It's just because you got to remember, they're not just spending that. They're spending it on shipping and handling. They're spending it on other expenses and how to run a comic shop. You still got to pay your employees. You still got to pay utilities, all of this stuff. You're spending all this budget just to get stock in your store. What's your what kind of margin of profit percentage are you going to have in a store? You're not going to have one. That's why so many comic shops freaked out when Diamond closed, because they already had that problem just with Diamond. Without Diamond, they got no stock coming in. They still got to pay their employees if they're open. You know, this is what's going on. And this is why when DC bought, or not bought, but opened the new channel with Lunar and DCBS or whoever, Midtown and DCBS, which are not the same thing. One's called Lunar, and I forget what the other one's called. Doesn't matter. But that's why they did that. It wasn't just because Diamond was, dictating to them where they could go with their books. It was, okay, now's the time that Diamond decided to shut it down to re-examine our distribution structure and see if we can build something and hopefully open a door for everybody else. And you saw what the reaction was over the last month to that from retailers. They were just basically thumbing their nose at it and spitting at it and hissing at it and having a conniption fit. So it's a little bit weird, but it is what it is. Let's go back to DC real quick. Again, you get certain codes and it says lower of 50% or the standard discount. Well, whatever the standard discount might be, whichever one's lower. If it's 50% or if the standard discount happens to be lower, you'd get that discount. If it's a discount code of S1, you get a 42.5% or a standard discount, whichever one is lower. That kind of thing. They just kind of, instead of giving you a straight up discount where everybody can just follow the thing easily, they have to give you these codes and make the retailer figure it out and work it out. And how much am I going to make profit per unit? Is this book worth ordering or not? Making it more difficult than it should be on these poor guys and these poor ladies who run these stores. This is Images set up. They get to control who gets featured and have higher levels of discount. If a book gets a B2 discount, it's a 70% discount. This is usually for your not blacklist, but backlist trade order codes to get rid of excess stock. But I'm told, in certain circles have told me this, I don't know if it's true or not, is that some series who get this discount as a means to market their number one issues as well. I don't know if that's true. I tend to question that unless maybe the partner members do it that way. I don't know. But, I'd find it very difficult that they would give a 70% discount straight up on issue one. Even though a lead-in number is good to have high orders, because so many retailers cut their orders from 2 to 3 to 4, each issue. So I don't know if that's really an accurate statement or not. The average, however, is the 45%, the flat 45% discount, which is the D2, which is the higher of 45% off or a standard discount, which is considerably less than that 50 to 58% margin from DC and Marvel, which is why you see that huge drop off in market share percentage, where it goes 30 to 40 to 5% for Marvel and DC each, and then Diamonds or Images number 3, and it's like 9 or 10% of the market. This is the reason why they're getting so much more discount, less discount on those books. Basically, if you have a 58, let's say you got a 50% discount, 58% discount from a Marvel book. Well, what's that 13% market share look like from 58% to 45%? Well, it's the equivalent of 25 to 30 cents a copy. More profit for the retailer to buy the Marvel book and sell the Marvel book to you than an Image book. On top of that, retailers don't have to order the books when they're standalone series, which many Image books are, and they have to be marketed individually to clientele to make them sell. Whereas, of course, Marvel and DC, they have these entire imprints of lines, the Batman line, the X-Men line, the Spider-Man line. And that was another person letting us know that he's doing a live show, which I was not. I knew that was going to happen. That was Aaron Lepresti. But anyway, this is why Marvel and DC flood the market with so much redundant content in character books like Spider-Man and the X-Men and Batman and Superman, so that the retailer looks at it as, well, I'm still going to make more profit per unit on all those titles than I am in image books, so why should I order that image book unless it's a big name creator that I know I can market to my clientele? And that's why, whereas years ago, Image had a huge market percentage. They had 18 to 22% of the market share. Now they're down to, usually around 7 to 12. And that's all it is that manipulation of the market. We're going to look at Dark Horse now. And Dark Horse is a little different yet. Each title has their own discount code in conjunction with the standard discount of 50 to 55% based on your overall order. But what that means is if you don't have a minimum order that satisfies Diamond, instead of getting the standard discount of 55, you might get 52.5%, whichever is lower. That's what I was talking about, that lower of the 52 or the standard discount. You might get 50 instead of 55 or 45% instead of 55. And that actually depends on these codes on what title it is and what kind of title it is. The licensed titles, for Aliens and the other movie-based licensing that they get, Predator, Terminator, whatever other stuff they have, Legend of Korra, all that stuff that is actually licensed content, you're going to get a 52 to 55% discount as a rule, even if it is higher or lower, because they have to give part of that market share back to the licensor. Whereas creator-owned books might only get a 45% or even a 40% discount, whichever is lower of the percentage discounts to the retailer, which means, again, what are retailers going to order? Are they going to order the licensed books, or are they going to order the creator-owned books? So now, this also plays into effect for books like Hellboy that have the movie deals and the TV shows and all the extra good stuff because they've been very successful. They get a higher discount than someone who just started a new series and isn't Mike Mignola, and so you might have some of these lesser known titles that are really good independent stuff. Maybe some of the stuff from the Burger Books line. You're only going to get a 40 to 47% discount. Am I going to order that book or not? Just to put it on and market it for the shelf. That doesn't mean they're not going to order it for pull customers, but pull customers need to learn that the retailer's not making as much money profit per unit, and that's why they constantly push Marvel and DC books on you, because they know they're going to get more profit per unit on the sales. Now, there's another aspect here that really you guys have heard a lot about with the previous catalog from retailers like Brian Hibbs and Dennis Barger Jr. and some of the other guys out there that have complained about it costing too much to get the catalogs in, and everybody wants to go digital anyway. So let's see if I can get this thing to work. Oh dear. Here we go. There was a problem with my food here, with my feed here. What about the other publishers like Boom and Valiant and Dynamite? Well, basically those have similar plateaus to Image and Dark Horse, but they're not necessarily those. They have the same codes and they're similar, but it's not in the catalog that I got. It's a separate code that the retailers know, though. However, and because sometimes it's not even shared with the retailers, I'm told. They have to guesstimate based on how the platforms work for the publishers that they do have full codes for, like Dark Horse. And the rest of the back of the catalog plays by Diamond Standard, which means you could get as little as 35% discount off the books, depending on how much you order as a retailer and how much the overall order for a book from all the retailers becomes. In other words, if a book fails to hit a certain plateau of retail orders, Diamond can choose to cancel that book and make the publisher resolicit at a later time with additional caveats and penalties put on the publisher. This is what happened a lot to Arrow Comics. They would lie to Arrow. They would lie to other small press publishers and say, well, you didn't meet the minimum order. You need, you gotta, if you want to, we'll ship this under ordered book, but if you want to continue your series, you're gonna have to pay extra money in advertising in the catalog, or we won't carry you anymore. Or you have to hit this plateau in the next few issues in growth, even though books traditionally drop from issue to issue in orders from retailers, or we won't carry you anymore. We didn't have that problem when we had 4 and 5 and 6 distributors. Everybody just ordered what they ordered, and if Diamond ran out or didn't want to carry you, you got your back. You had alternative distribution to get what you needed as a retailer for your fans. Mm-hmm. And this is basically why the real reason why independent publishers have such a difficult time finding success in comic book shops is that type of structure just lends us to failure. It's not that the books are necessarily bad. It's not that we don't know how to market ourselves. It's the structure sets us up to fail. And so when you hear Mark Andrew Smith or myself or some of these other guys calling out the retailers and saying, hey, you didn't support us. And the retailer saying, well, yes, I did. You just didn't market well enough to make it matter. This is what the tug of war is about. Both sides are getting played against the middle, against one another, because the structure of Diamond sets up both sides to not be able to meet the proper quotas and meet the full potential as a product and as a market. And that's what needs to change. But speaking of our retailers, is that, as I said, the point of contention is that previews catalog. It retails for $3.99. Many fans just assume retailers give this away when they get it in the store. Most do not. The last 8 different stores I've been to charge their customers for it, including the one I go to now. But my point here isn't that they're charging you for the catalog. That doesn't bother me personally. The point here is, and I don't know if I can get this to enlarge or not. I'm going to try. Let's see. Nope, it won't. Okay. You can't see it tightly enough. But the next previews catalog, which is the June catalog for August, it says $3.83 August 2020. It costs the retailer $2.40 per copy. So you're going to make some profit for every copy you sell. Theoretically, it's $3.99 versus $2.40. You're making $1.59. Now you got to remember, though, for every one of those catalogs, you got this huge honking thick thing taking up space in a box that's taking up weight and shipping costs. So if these guys order, several dozen for their pull customers, they got to pay for that shipping and handling. So that money that they profit is getting eaten up by the shipping and handling, and might even cost them money to just get the catalog. That's why they're having a fit over it. The thing is, if you learn how to use it properly, okay, that $2.40 let's say you ordered 100 of them. $2.40 times 100 is what? $240. Okay. Mm-hmm. Myself alone, I order $300 to $400 a month out of the back of the catalog. That's one customer. I just made you back your money you invested in your catalogs. If every retailer in this country learned to teach their customers to do what I do and buy one of these catalogs from you and go through the catalog ourselves, find what we like. You may not have one guy like me that spends that kind of money on the back stock, but you may have 2 or 3 or 4 guys or gals that will order that stuff out of the back of the catalog and make up what you're investing in those previews catalogs for your stores. Okay? Mm-hmm. So retailers need to understand, you can't just say, well, it's not worth having. It is worth having, but you got to utilize it correctly. But let's say you don't want to do that for whatever reason, and then it's your choice. Then, okay, what's $240 plus the shipping and handling? About $300 a month times 3 for every quarter is $900 every quarter that you could be spending on advertising your store. You keep telling us, retailers, that you want the publishers to pay for advertising for you. Get TV revenue advertising, get this going on, get that going on. If you're not spending money on those catalogs, you got $900 a quarter. I can tell you right now, you could sponsor podcasts like mine, like Ted's, like IndieVolt, like whoever that you like in your local community, that you got people that are doing podcasts you like. You could, instead of buying catalogs, you could spend that money and we'll advertise your stores. And then what do you want us to advertise? Or what are we advertising for? You know, that's comes down to talking to us, the media, because we are the new media. And if you want to have representation, it's not just in 4 or 5 guys going on somebody's podcast and complaining about everything that's wrong in the industry, which is what we've seen a lot of. I'm talking about, what am I sponsor? Well, if you're going to sponsor my show for a week, an episode, what do you want me to promote for your store? What am I promoting? Why am I promoting it? Am I going to be allowed to promote independent comics? If I promote independent titles, are you going to order them? This is what has to be done. This type of communication has to be met in order to rebuild and have that comeback that, Diamond's saying we're going to have a comeback. Well, Diamond ain't doing that for you. Okay? It's going to have to be retailers doing it for themselves, and not just by themselves, but with those of us who actually can reach potential audiences and get them interested in what you may or may not have in your stores. Hopefully what you do have in your stores or will get for your stores. And that's pretty much what I'm saying is, over here is the same thing is, if you want us to do major advertising, the best thing to do is just go directly with us and get, help us build ours and get your customers watching our podcasts. And we'll do review of books, whether we're reviewing independents, whether we're reviewing mainstream, whatever we're doing, to get people interested in your products and what you're carrying. Be much more effective than worrying about getting on a TV show for 30 seconds, because we're, someone's watching our podcast, they're going to watch for an hour. We're going to probably talk, 5-10 minutes about your store potentially, instead of this 30-second blurb. Hey kids, come to this store and meet all your Marvel and DC fan favorite books, or whatever. That's not going to necessarily do anything for you, especially when you guys want them to run them during the Marvel and DC primetime shows, where first off, we haven't got that kind of money to spend. You haven't got that kind of money to spend. and the audience base that you're going to reach isn't necessarily what you think it is. Because a lot of the people that watch that stuff either already come to your stores or they're not interested in buying comics. They're just Marvel cinematic fans. And there is a difference between an MCU fan and a comics fan. And that's something we'll have to talk about in the future. But for now, that's what we're going to talk. That's pretty much our discussion on the differences and what is going on with the new Diamond Previews catalog. We're going to see if there's more changes coming in future issues of the magazine, and we'll come back to previews and see what kind of stuff is forthcoming out of the catalog a little bit later in the show. Okay. But for now, let's talk about comics reviews. Our first book of the night is Anti-Hero, trade paperback, $9.99. The publisher is DC for their DC Kids line. It's 156 pages, full color. The writers are Kate Carias Quinn and Demetria Lunetta. The artist is Maka. I guess it's Maka. I don't know how. I hope that's correct. Maka Gill with Sam Lofty, and the colorist is Sarah Stern. The genre is teen superhero adventure. The ISBN number is 978-1-4012-9325-3. What it's about. Two 13-year-old girls, each with their own formidable super skills, get their bodies switched when one tries to stop the other from committing a heist. Think Freaky Friday, only with two teenage girls, with the one up top that looks like a ballerina with a lucha mask on is an aspiring hero, and the other one is a criminal by necessity. Set in the suburbs of Gotham City, these are brand new teenage characters for the DC universe. Recommended for all ages, rating 4.5 stars out of 5. Awesome book, very well done. I wish that the regular DC Universe guys would pay attention to this sort of thing and not necessarily do it for all ages, like for kids, like this one is, but look at the structure of how these characters are developed and why they're there and why they behave the way they do, as opposed to trying to change things to fit whatever silly plots or crazy event that they're going to, shock and awe the audience with. Let's take a quick look at the artwork. The hummingbird character is sitting there eating cheese puffs because she's super strong, but she has to constantly feed herself to keep her energy levels up. And she's sort of on patrol, and what you see are these little drones that are carrying the jewelry that was stolen by the other girl. She called herself Gray early on in the comic. And what she has stolen in the first page here, this isn't the first page on the left, but she stole some stuff from the heist trying to distract the cops from her boss's heist, which is for this circular device that you see in the next page. And that circular device is some sort of technological thing that can blend people either psychically or physically or whatever into one being in some cases. But in this particular case, it just switched their minds into the other girl's body. And they have to go through, living each other's lives and figuring out, oh, okay, well, all right, the reason you're a criminal is because your mother is very sick and your grandfather is a crime boss who's basically manipulating you so that your mother will be taken care of. Okay, makes sense now. You're not really evil. You're doing it because you have no choice, so to speak. And then ultimately, in the meantime, they're both competing against one another for a competition at the school where you get to meet Bruce Wayne. And Bruce Wayne's going to award you this like science fair type award type prize. And you might get to go to Antarctica or something like that, was, if I remember correctly, to meet some other scientists, which for Gray is awesome because she's a super genius, but for Hummingbirds, because her parents left her with her grandma, and her parents are actually at the place that Bruce Wayne's going to send her to if she wins the competition. So they actually have to work together to try and get each other through the competition as well. So it's really kind of a cool thing. I'm not going to tell you how it ends or anything, but definitely worth your time, in my opinion. Our next DC book of the week is Plunge number 3, $3.99. It's part of their Hill House Comics imprint. Writer is Joe Hill. The artist is Stuart Immonen, and the colorist is Dave Stewart. The genre is horror. What it's about, after discovering the long-missing crew of the Derleth and having their own ship half blown up in the last issue, the salvagers now face the horror of the semi-zombified Derleth crew and their gifts, including a psychic resonance power via a Walkman radio, a piece of gold that drives all of it, anyone who sees it insane with the obsession of possessing that piece of gold, and the formulaic equation of pi figured out to its final completion, which, as we all know, supposedly pi has no, it's supposed to go on forever past the certain number code. Well, they actually figured out the mathematics to end the actual code of pi, among other gifts. What will they do with this knowledge? And what will these zombified people actually be like? Can they actually function in society, or are they a threat to everyone? Recommended for 17 and up, 3.5 stars. Very well. We're about midway through the storyline. I think it's 5 or 6 issue storyline, if I remember correctly. And there's some interesting things going on. Because it's been so long since the last issue came out, it didn't really have the same impact for me as it might have had if I'd been able to sit. I didn't have time to sit down and read all of it together. I had to try and just quickly rush through everything last night when I got the books. But let's take a quick look at the artwork. You probably can't necessarily tell this, but there's no eyes in any of these zombified members of the crew. All the eyes are open sockets. And they supposedly there's some sort of worm or parasite or something that's eaten those away, and they use their other senses to function. As you can see, they're also very ashen grayish color, and whether that's because they were buried in the caves and they've been under the caves for so long, or whatever the situation is, they are what they are. And their minds aren't completely what they were when they were human. Which I think is kind of funny, because the person's asking them questions that would make sense, like, how old are you? And he goes, well, I can't figure that out anymore. My brain doesn't know how to do that and figure out my age now, or how long I've been missing. but I can do pie. It's like a little bit of a weird, thing there, but okay. A little bit too contradictory for me, but it's funny, but okay. Let's see here. I'm trying to find. Yeah, okay. And that's pretty much our DC reviews this week, which were actually last week's books. I just didn't get them read until this week. So let's see, what else we got? Well, last week, as you know, I showed you guys I had gotten Ted Davies' Albino Zulu #1 in the mail, and that print as well. I didn't get a chance to read it back last week, so we'll review it now. Albino Zulu #1 by Avitas Press, $3 in print, $1.50 in PDF. You can, let's see, get it at teddaviesartistry.com, I believe, if that's correct. I'll just leave it there for now. It's recommended for all ages. I gave it a 3 out of 5. Creator is Ted Davies. Genre is action adventure. It's a black and white 10-page coloring comic book. And what it's about is Albino Zulu is a special agent in the South African wild who is called into the office to meet a new client, was a little bit confused on that, by his father, the chieftain of a South African tribe. We'll see a quick look at the interior art. He's got a ear device that hang in his ear ring that he touches it with his ear and like a phone, Bluetooth. And his father has called him in. He gets in his Land Rover and heads on out to get home, basically, is this artwork. Some people might think it's a little bit rough looking. It's just his style. It's kind of, it gives you a rough enough look that a lot of kids will not, they can color it and not feel like they've messed it up the way some coloring books these days. We got these adult coloring books with this really extravagant art, and then the kids look at it and go, I can't color that. Or if they do color it, they scribble all over everything. And think about how the parents feel after that. So this is very, I won't call it simplistic. It's not simple. It's just a certain style that is done well enough that kids will be able to appreciate it for what it is without having it be too excessive of a story or artwork, either way. Mm-hmm. So again, I gave it 3 out of 5. Part of the reason I gave it 3 out of 5 is because I thought maybe it needed to be a little bit longer. But I understand there were certain circumstances that led to this particular series being developed the way it was. I can't get into those circumstances because Ted and I have discussed it, and it has to do with other different publishers he formerly worked with, and he was trying to get different things done and stuff, and before he launched his own press. And so we're not going to talk about that. But it kind of rushed him a little bit, I think, giving it a little bit too short of a book. But, that'll be improved upon in subsequent issues possibly, or, we'll see what he decides to do. But it's a good first start. Our next book is Alienated #3 from Boom Studios. Simon Spurrier is the writer. Chris Wildgoose is the artist, with Andre May as the colorist. It's $3.99. Genre is science fiction teen drama, and what it's about in this issue, the alien Chip is being babysat by the female of our three Sams, Samantha, when it reaches into her mind, and we learn that she was a teenage mother who had to give her baby up for adoption and that the father bailed on her. Her emotions feed the alien, and she loses control and almost destroys her ex-boyfriend, but realizes that he just freaked out because he just wasn't ready to be a parent, and truthfully, she wasn't and isn't either. So there's that storyline going on. And we also learn that the investigation of the missing kid, that the bully from previous issues, continues, and that Samuel, one of the other three Sams, was and is the idiot who makes the ugly anti-establishment videos, which hints at something more sinister about him. Recommended for ages 15 and up, rating 4 out of 5 stars. And the reason for that is because Simon Spurrier does a really good job of telling a story about a truth about what teenage pregnancy can and often is. Can be and often is, I should say. A lot of times when these things happen, the kids just aren't emotionally or psychologically ready for it. And because they don't know how to cope with it. In this particular case, the father runs from it and abandons her and ignores her and everything. And that affected her, not just, because she was going through the change of being pregnant, but her whole identity in the school changed because she was no longer she was no longer his girlfriend. Other things were going on. And of course, people suspected her pregnancy, but they didn't, they talked behind her back and stuff like that. That affected her psychologically, as it can and will happen. But as we go through this story, and she's going through her rage, and she's focusing it on her ex, she comes to the realization that it wasn't that he didn't want a kid. It's not that he didn't care about her. It was just too overwhelming for him. And she ends up forgiving it in the storyline, because if she doesn't forgive him, basically the alien's going to destroy his mind and kill him. And that's that is a good storyline, because this is something that you don't really see the forgiveness stuff on your MTV Teen Mom 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever. You just see them constantly bickering with one another and bitching about each other. You never see the maturity of two teenagers realizing, okay, we did what was best for the kid. We gave it up for adoption. The kid's okay. The kid's safe. Everything's okay, so to speak. I mean, things are different. We're not going to be together anymore, whatever, but we can live with each other, so to speak. A lot of times that doesn't happen, at least not the way they do it on these reality TV shows. So I'm very happy to see Spurrier do that in the comic book. Let's show a little bit of the artwork for that. This is where the other Sam is doing his stupid video, and he's talking about, anti-establishments. We hate the government. We're going to take over the government, blah, blah, blah. There's the bully and his bike missing in the background, and there's another person in the female that was in an earlier issue that he basically copied. And Samantha realizes, hey, what the hell you're doing? You're basically giving yourself up. She didn't even know he was the guy that was doing the stupid videos, but, only the three of us know about this stuff, and you're showing it off. That's going to, put all three of us in jeopardy. And your mom's the sheriff on top of that. So what are you doing? That's like the first 2 or 3 pages of this particular issue. And basically he's like blowing it all off and saying, oh, it's no big deal. My mom doesn't know anything about it. She won't figure it out. Only his mother is figuring out what's going on. And it's going to be very interesting to see, given that he has a psychic link to that alien as well. I'm expecting the heel turn, the villainous turn from that character as the story progresses, and whether or not the other two Sams are going to be able to stop him. Our next book is Blackwood the Morning After, number 3 from $3.99. Dark Horse Comics. Writer is Evan Dorkin. The artists are Veronica and Andy Fish, and the genre is teen horror. Greg McKenna, as you see listed on the cover, is a letterer. Dean Ogden, the dean of the school, his funeral commences, and McKenna students who have learned of the attack on the school where the funeral is being taken place do anything to stop the threat, or will all hell break loose, as in literally. Recommended for ages 15 and up, 4 stars out of 5. And this is where they're at the actual funeral, and all these mirrors are up. They're supposed to be spirits of past people, and the attack comes, and they start shattering all the mirrors and stuff. And people are wounded from glass shattering and everything like that. This little glowing here in the bottom right corner is the point where the real attack happens, though, at the end of the storyline for this issue. Basically, a portal opens, and I don't want to say a Cthulhu type monster, but another dimensional monster breaks free out of the portal and it starts attacking everyone. And that's how they end this particular episode. And this is issue 3 out of 4. So we're going to get one more issue to see how it concludes. And that'll be pretty interesting. Whether or not the kids are going to be able to stop it, or what's going on, because the adults have been kind of overwhelmed here with what happens. Our next book is Cosmo the Mighty Martian, number 5, $3.99. Publisher is Archie Comics. Writer is Ian Flynn. Artist is Tracy Yardley. The colorist is Matt Helms. This particular cover is the alternative cover. I don't know why my store gave me the alternative cover. They did. I didn't realize it until I got home. I forget who actually did the cover on this. I can't get a close enough look at it. Let me see if I can find it where the signature is. No, it's too small. I can't read it. Sorry. But this is the alternate cover. And it's a science fiction adventure. And what it's about, the Martian crew has been captured, pardon me, by the Venusian queen Hesper and her battle princesses. Cosmo must choose between becoming Hesper's loyal consort and king of Venus to save his friends, or they will all perish. Or does the mighty Martian have one more trick up his sleeve? Find out in the thrilling conclusion of the miniseries. Recommended for 10 and up. Rating 3 out of 5 stars. And there's his trick up his sleeve. Giant ship combo mecha. Also known as the mighty Morlon. Or Martiantron or whatever. Knockoff of Voltron anyway. And what he's beaten up is a giant battle princess who has been built up into like a giant monster, attacking 50-foot woman type thing. And her magic gets used up, and then she gets defeated, of course. And the reason I gave it 3 out of 5 is basically because for the last issue of the series, it's kind of anticlimactic, and it really doesn't resolve everything that I think a final issue should. But then again, they're probably going to do another miniseries down the road here, so they're probably just trying to leave it open-ended enough so that people will follow into the next miniseries. So, 6 of one, half a dozen of another on that. But that was a little bit of a disappointment. That plus it was a little bit derivative, like I said, with the kind of Voltron knockoff type thing going on there. But okay, it's not that bad. It's still, a fairly middle of the road, a little bit above average comic. So 3 out of 5 is fine. Our next book is Dead Day #1, $4.99, from Aftershock Comics. The writer is Ryan Perot. The artist is Evgeny Bornyakov. The colorist is Wancho. The genre is horror. And what it's about, the dead come back once a year or so for one day or one overnight thing. And the world reacts in different ways to it. Says so, but some treat them like zombies. Others embrace their dead loved ones for the night. This comic shows the actions of one family in this story primarily, with some side stories hinted at. For ages 16 and up, I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. And part of the reason I did that was there's just too many we're not going to explain what's going on, just go with it type moments in the book. And I just, I'm not, having read Ryan Perot's other stuff for Aftershock, like Oberon, it was a letdown for me, unfortunately. Bornyakov is a good artist, but again, some of the storytelling is a little bit weak, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that in just a second. Okay, you see here the family. This is the lead family. The mom, as you can see clearly, she has no earrings on any of these pictures, and this is important, and I'll get to that in a moment as to why it's important. But basically, they're talking about what happens. Do they come and eat you? Do they not come and eat you? All kinds of silly stuff like that. It's basically, when the sun sets, some of the dead come back and see their families, and then, when the sun rises, they're gone again, type thing. Okay. It's only happened 4 times so far. So, whatever. Why isn't it every year? I mean, we get Christmas every year and Easter and Halloween. Well, that's because the dead day is caused by the moon or the stars or something. No one really knows. It's like, explain something here, So that the story-wise is just a little bit weak. Now, she goes into this gun store. To me, it is not a pawn shop. It is a gun store, because I don't see anything else here that really reflects a pawn shop necessarily. She's buying ammunition for a weapon, a handgun, hollow points, and she had 2 boxes on hold, and he says it's $300 even. Last week, they were $25 a box. Well, that was last week. Now it's this much. Now you see she's throwing money on the table or on the thing, and there's a pair of earrings. I'm going to give you $187 on my earrings. Well, where are the earrings from? She's not wearing earrings. She never wore any earrings. And what? Were you planning on where were they? In your purse? That just, threw me off a little bit there. It really took me out of the story with stuff like that, and that's why I gave it a lower grade. The stuff like that, more than anything else, because I expect a little bit better than that of Ryan as a writer. I expect a little bit better than that of the editors for Aftershock too. That's simple stuff that should be figured out. John Norris says, I need to check out Cosmo. I really enjoyed Ian Flynn and Tracy Yardley's work on Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, you probably should try and get the Cosmo trades. This was the second series, I believe, second miniseries with Cosmo. I know there is a trade for the first, and then this is the last issue of this trade, so of this miniseries. So probably on the next 10 to 12 weeks, maybe there should be a solicitation for the next trade. Maybe it might even be in this previews. I'll check for you. A little bit for you there, John. But on to our next book, King of Nowhere, #2 from Boom Studios, $3.99. The writer is W. Maxwell Prince. The artist is Tyler Jenkins. The colorist is Hillary Jenkins. The genre is urban fantasy / mystery. And what it's about, Dennis, our lead character, is still being hunted by the assassin, and bodies are piling up along the way. Can Dennis or the sheriff of Nowhere figure out what's going on and stop this mysterious murderer before Nowhere is completely destroyed? I gave it 3.5 stars, recommended for ages 15 and up. And this is Dennis kind of going through dream state, talking to iguana, and then being called down by his wife. And he comes down the stairs, and she hands him the baby, and the baby is a fish guy, fish face. And now he's zapped out of his sort of dreamlike state, and now he's with one of the fish police, literally, type thing. And he says, it feels like someone took an ice cream scoop to my brain and it has these little 2 scoops. But anyway, the artwork's pretty cool. It feels very it's not like Jill Thompson. Jill Thompson's a little more refined in her work than Jenkins, but it has that kind of symbolism to it that Jill had when she was working on Sandman and was doing characters like Delirium. It very much reminds me of that type of a thing. Storyline wise, it's pretty good. I'm not gonna, there's different scenes where the assassin's basically stopping every little spot that Dennis has stopped. Oh, okay, fine. Well, that's where he's going next. Thank you. Boom, you're dead. He just kills everybody he meets. Can't leave any witnesses to his existence, I guess. I don't know, but it's going to be interesting to see where the story takes us in future issues. Our next book is Rogue Planet, #1 from Oni Press, $3.99. Writer is Cullen Bunn. The artist is Andy McDonald. The colorist is Nick Filardi. The genre is science fiction horror. And what it's about, well, basically it's a pretty generic science fiction story, an aliens knockoff. A space salvage crew runs smack into a nightmare world. This iteration is a rogue planet, one that has no star or other planetary bodies around it, just hurtling through space. And yes, these things do exist according to astronomers. It's not like Cullen just made this up out of nowhere. There is some scientific base of truth there. But anyway, the salvage crew is in stasis, as they always are in these ships, until their ship picks up a signal and they land on the planet to investigate and, of course, run into the living entity that may or may not be part of the planet itself, which attacks them. recommended for 15 and up. I gave it 2.5 stars. The reason I gave it 2.5 stars is because it is just so freaking generic. Been there, done that. There's just nothing story-wise that makes this. We've been here. The only reason this thing gets published is because it's Cullen Bunn. Any other, non-name guy who doesn't shit out 10 to 15 titles a month, and a guy who has an extended history with that particular publisher, that book's not getting picked up. I'm sorry. It's not good enough. But let's take a look at the art real quick. And the art is okay. The cover was nice. You guys looked at the cover. This is a 2-page spread where they're on this planet. And, it's a graveyard. This is where the signal beacon is coming from. And there's dozens of ships here. But how would these ships all get here? We're lucky we're the first salvage crew to catch the scent. And then, maybe we're not. Maybe these ships were all the one that are here, all follow the signal down here to begin with. And they all crashed in the same spot. How does that work? Well, here's the thing. If you're running proper protocols, why the hell did you land on this planet yet anyway? If it's a new planet, you don't know the planet. You see a beacon. Why aren't your radar or your, instruments telling you where things are and where to land safely and all this stuff? Just a lot of stuff that scientifically, if this was a good science fiction story, it's like Cullen avoided common sense stuff to get the plot to where the action is going to be. Because this is right before this giant, I don't know how you want to try to describe it, never-ending tentacle that just comes out of the ground and follows them everywhere, and starts killing them all off. It's just like, I'm not. I don't know if I'm going to bother with the rest of the series, to be honest. I mean, I don't want to knock Andy McDonald's artwork. He's a good artist, but the story is just so weak. And I hate to be. I want to be positive. If you like aliens, if you like this type of storyline, then yeah, you're probably going to like the book. But for me, I've been there, done that. I got to have something a little more unique. And that covers our reviews from Diamond this week. Now we're going to talk about not previews, but the crowdfunding stuff. And I got to look up that stuff a little bit separately. So just give me a little bit moment here. Okay. Here we go. Sharing screens. Our first one is called Second Chance to Change-O. Who says you can't have second chances? Get your Change-O this time around and join the story. I don't know if this is the second issue or a repeat of the first issue just yet. I just found it today. There's 9 days left. There's 8 backers. They have a $500 flexible goal. They're at $300. They probably will meet their minimum here. But we'll see. Let's take a quick look at the video.
By the ability to see demonic entities since the age of 6. Now, as a teenager, he looks to be rid of this burden once and for all. But is it a curse or something more? Django, the broken veil.
Okay, well, that right there tells you that yes, this is the first issue, or first volume of the story. So that's a good resolve. I thought it was a representation of that one, but I wasn't sure. So let's take a quick look at it. The character is created by Cesar El Guapo Feliciano. He's done horror comics like Captain's Jolting Tales and Full Moon Crazy. There's superhero comics like Red 10. Let's take a quick look at some of this artwork. It's pretty decent, nothing wrong with it. Good color. The pattern for the mother's dress is okay. I guess that Caesar is the artist and Ben Goldsmith is the writer. And he hasn't mentioned the name of the colorist, but he worked on Spencer and Locke, so that's pretty good for IDW. It'll be a 56-page full-color graphic novel. There's no risks. It's a second chance the book will be printed because the first campaign already succeeded. The art is done. The colors are almost complete, and the lettering is well on its way. So, there you go. Should be working. For the 56-page book, it's $25 for the book. Shipping worldwide, it was $40, so it's almost 30. It's 37% off. Exactly, full which one perk you're going to get is there. So that's pretty cool. I'm not sure if I'm going to get it yet or not myself, but it's a possibility. I'm looking at the coloring and the designs and stuff. I just, it looks interesting to me. So if I decide to order that, we'll review it at a later date. Our next one that we are going to do, let's see. It's called The Last Patrol by William Miller. And let's go ahead and see what theirs is about. There's 4 days left. They've got over $10,000 from 277 backers over a $500 flexible goal. So this book is definitely going to be produced. It's William Miller's writing with Scott McDaniel, who was the artist on Nightwing, among other books. I think he also did some Spider-Man for Marvel. Derek Fisher, who's a well-known inker. So they got some people that know what they're doing. So let's go ahead and play the video. Now, we're going to see here what they've got because they got 4 days left. There's 18 soldiers that are ambushed on patrol who must survive the night, and it's based on events, real life events of one of the last patrols to actually serve in Iraq during Saddam Hussein's time as dictator there. You can get the graphic novel plus some stickers for $25. The book, the stickers, and a T-shirt for $50. Everything with a lithogram for $60. Quite a bit of stuff here. They're saying at this point 20 pages are penciled, 10 of them are inked. Rick is lettering, and they just added a color artist. Okay, that's why they hadn't mentioned the name of the color artist yet, because they hadn't done it. They just hired him. I don't know how many pages this is actually going to be. It doesn't say. Let's see if it says anything in the fact. No, it doesn't. That might be a question then. Let's see. Updates. As of April 27th, he was just basically getting a shout out from your boy Zach, which who cares? Okay, that was a month ago. So let's see what the comments have to say. Okay. Basically, you're going to get the graphic novel, however many pages that is, plus stickers. I'll have to come back. If people want to know more about it, let me know. Just email me at my normal email account. At this email account, QuothTheRavenLBR72@gmail.com. Say last patrol in the subject line and remind me to find out how many pages this is. There's only 4 days left, so if I need to find that out for somebody, or you can ask them yourselves on that actual page. Let me see if I can list the actual page here. There you go. You can go to there. It should be able to find it there at indiegogo.com/project/the last patrol with the dashes in between the words. You should be able to find out how many pages it is if it's to your possible interest. I wish he had mentioned out how many pages the book was, but otherwise, oh well. Let's see what else we've got going on this fine evening. Here we go. All right, there we go. This is the Lucent Waking Dream graphic novel. When dreams and reality collide, a young woman is thrust in the middle of an ancient conflict. There's 2 days left to back this one. It's got over $10,000 out of a 2036 fixed goal, so they're definitely going to make their book. It comes out of Melbourne, Australia. It'll be a 76-page full-color trade paperback with 56 pages of story plus additional pages of bonus material, and you get a full-color glossy print separately, which is 8.25 by 11. The Lucent is an ongoing fantasy series set in a world that's not too dissimilar from our own. Think of it as kind of reminiscent of The Matrix in a way, I think. But let's look at the video.
When dreams and reality collide, a life is turned upside down. Thrust into a conflict where ancient shadows fight secret wars. For control of the future. Her allies hide in plain sight, but so do her enemies.
And that's the end of our video there. Let's quickly go back down. A signed book with a head sketch is their featured perk for $66. You can get the signed book for $25. Supposed to ship in April of 2021. A card with a signed book with a sketch card is $36. Signed book with a fold-out poster is $40, etc. In Waking Dream, we meet Ella Forsyth, a young woman who from the outside appears to be living an unremarkable life. But every night in her dreams, she's visited by Damon Spector, an enigmatic young man who's teaching her to do things she never thought possible. When the barrier between her dreams and reality begins to blur, she'll be thrown into the middle of a conflict that will turn everything she knows upside down. The Lucent weaves mystery, suspense, superpowered action, and romance together in a world where our myths and legends come to life. If you like the Matrix or Highlander or Assassin's Creed, it's basically that type, all those things mixed in with one another. The artwork looks nice, well colored, well designed. A little bit of history spinning around. Written, drawn, colored, and lettered by the creator, Michael Bancroft. And so, Now, the thing is, this is a beginning, middle, and end that it will play it out over at least 7 books. So, this is not a one-shot thing. This is a 7 book. This is it's a good chunk of story at 56 pages of story. 76 is the trade paperback with 56 pages of story. But if he's going to do that 7 times over, you guys have to take that into consideration as well. So, again, there's only 2 days left. And if you're interested in that one, I'll go ahead and put that up for you, how to get there. That's how you get to that one. Okay, let's see what else we got. Got plenty of fun stuff to look at. It's just a matter of getting the right connections. All right, now this one's got plenty of time left on it. It's called The Plot Holes. I think we talked about this a little bit last week. It's by fan favorite comic creator Sean Murphy of Batman White Knight fame, among other things. They had a $50,000 fixed goal. He's already passed 150K, so he's definitely getting his book made. There's 47 days left on the campaign. We'll probably come back to it at a little bit later time, closer to the deadline. But unfortunately, he doesn't have a video on this, which is a little bit odd, I think. But basically, the plot holes are a squad of fictional warriors who transport themselves into the pages of other books and use their unique skills to save the plots in order to stop them from being destroyed. And Cliff is their newest recruit, a comic creator who's just realized his world isn't real. In fact, it's complete fiction, and it literally exists inside a novel. Other members are misfits like him, pulled from unpublished books that couldn't be saved. A manga samurai, a barbarian tiger, a kid from a comic strip, and a vampire assassin. Outclassed by the other members, Cliff sets out to prove his worth to the plot holes as they fight to save as many books as possible. The only thing that's stopping them is Surge, an ex-member who's gone rogue. Not only is he threatening to destroy the digital matrix containing them, he threatens to destroy the database of digital libraries all over the world. That's kind of an interesting context, what makes this story different from other stuff? Well, on surface, The Plot Holes is an adventure story that treks through dozens of different genres with a wide range of characters, offering something for every kind of reader. But on a deeper level, it asks metatextual questions like no comic book ever has before. If Cliff knows he's not real, then why does he want to survive? And is the term really alive if they only exist in our imaginations? And what happens to them if they do die? If you're still not convinced, this comic book takes Philip K. Dick, the author of famous Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, gives him a blaster and then shoves him into an adventure he's not ready for. That's kind of a pretty cool thing. But anyway, this is again by Sean Murphy, best known as the writer-artist of Batman White Knight and Curse of the White Knight from DC Comics. He's also done Chrononauts, which is being adapted at Netflix, and Tokyo Ghost. He's worked on Hellblazer, Star Trek, Star Wars, The Wake, and Punk Rock Jesus. So, he's there. He's been around a while. So, what has he got here? Well, you can get a digital copy for $10, the print pack add-on for $10, the soft cover edition of the book for $30, soft cover and a print pack for $40, a hardcover for $50, and so on. Mm-hmm. He's showing you the covers that you can pick from. again, he doesn't really tell you. Let's see. Well, basically, every time they do an extended edition of it, they're going to add 22 pages. So right now, you got more than 140 pages of content, including the making of material. So you're getting a decent amount of pages for your dollars. That's good. And again, it's colored by Matt Hollingsworth, who is an excellent colorist as well. So, very well established product, very well established content as far as that goes. And let's see, where am I at here? Trying to get rid of something here and it doesn't show. Huh, weird. Okay. So anyway, that's pretty much all of our crowdfunding reviews, I think. Let me see if there's one more. There is one more. Okay. My bad. There's one more to go through for tonight. Just got to get to it. Let's see. Actually, there's two more. My bad. Gonna have to hurry up and go through these though, because Kickstarter's about to go on a maintenance schedule. This is called Blacking Out, and it's a graphic novel by Chip Moser of Chip was one of the guys for Boom Studios, and Peter Krause, who did the artwork for Mark Waid's Irredeemable, if I remember correctly. Got plenty of days to go, 26 days to go. They had a $500 pledge goal. They've got almost $16,000. Let's see what it's about.
Hi, this is Chip Mosier, and welcome to our Kickstarter for Blacking Out. 20 years ago, I moved to Southern California, to Los Angeles. It's a place where people reinvent themselves. It's a place that shouldn't exist. When I moved here, I realized, while there's been lots of great stories about water in Los Angeles, there haven't been any great stories about fire. And I'm also a big crime fan. I love James Ellroy. I love Jim Thompson. I love Charles Willeford. And so I was driving up the 5 one day, and I'd fallen in love during the Southern California fire season with just the beauty of the destruction and how the light from the sun changed with the smoke in the air. So I was trying to capture that on film. And the idea for Blacking Out just hit me like a ton of bricks. And so I wrote it down, and then I knew I needed the perfect collaborators to do this book. And so I called up my old friend, Peter Krause. Known Peter for years since we worked together when I was the marketing director at Boom Studios, and he was drawing Irredeemable. And Peter and I talked about the book, and he drew it and just did a bang-up job. And then I knew I needed the perfect colorist, the perfect letterer. And so I reached out to Julia Brusco, who just did an incredible job on Scalped over 60 issues. And Ed came in. He's one of the best letterers in the business and just really spent a whole heck of a lot of time on the lettering. And then we got Tom Muller to design the book. And having gone to Angoulême in France and experiencing the bande dessinée, the European album format, I really fell in love with that format and conceptualized Blacking Out as a one-and-done 56-page European album hardcover. And that's what we have. And it's going to be beautiful. The book is completely done, and it's ready to go to print. So all we're asking you is to support us so we can get the money we need to send it to the printer. Again, the book's done. It just needs to go to print. And I hope you will support this Kickstarter so we can do that. We have some great rewards, including lobby cards by luminaries like Eduardo Riso, Francesco Francavilla, Marco Andolfo, Elise McCall, Patrick Reynolds, Ryan Kelly, Jamal Eigel, Dan Panosian, Jacob Phillips, Emma Rios. Give the Kickstarter a look. Check it out. I hope you like what you see. I'm really proud of this book, and I can't wait to hear what you think.
It's about a drunk ex-cop looking for redemption as he attempts to solve a murder during the Southern California fire season, which, like he said, that's what he's kind of looking into here. 56-page graphic novel and a deluxe oversized edition in the European album tradition. For those of you who don't know what that means, I'll show you next week. I don't have it right in hand, but basically, well, actually, it's about the same size as a previous catalog, so it'll be about this big. It'll just be like a hardcover edition, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it says oversized deluxe hardcover, so it'll be about the size of a previews catalog. So it should be pretty well developed on that. Let's see what else it says. We're going to give you a lobby card, trading card set from multiple artists, which they showed you the images of that. So there's quite a few stuff there available. We can go ahead and quickly.
Live from Los Angeles, California, and Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Chip Mosier and Peter Krause.
Woohoo!
Woo-hoo. So Pete, so you, we were having you fly into LA for the video that we shot, and you were sick and couldn't do it, and that made me sad.
It was respiratory. It might have been COVID. Who knows?
Might have been COVID, right? So I wanted to do a quick video with you and just have you talk about the book. So it was pretty crazy. I sent you a script. There was no panel breakdowns, and I said, "Go do your thing."
Right. And I believe, I storyboarded the whole thing initially.
Yep.
And did the breakdowns. Did that, made sure that they were okay with you before we started to do any, final line art on the book. It was a lot of fun doing it that way. Really gave me the freedom to emphasize what I wanted to emphasize visually within the book. I am very, very proud of the way it all turned out. The story was great. Julia did a great job on the colors. Ed with his letters, and then Tom with the design work. Boy, it's really a special project. Personally for me, it's the one drawing job that I've done that I think I'm probably most proud of. It reflects kind of the sensibilities I would prefer to pursue drawing. It was a lot of fun.
What was it like working in a bigger size, in the bande dessinée European album size?
Oh my gosh, that is so nice working in that. You would think, okay, from a civilian standpoint, you're thinking, okay, it's not that much wider than standard comic book format, but just having that little extra width, comic book format is so vertical. Sometimes, especially, in my younger days when I'm drawing comic books, it just felt like I was kind of being squeezed, hard to get everything in there. Just that little extra width, really, really helps. You can, if you need to, go a little bit, number of panels wider, and it doesn't feel that the parameters are squeezing you in on the side.
Yeah, it's your work in this book is amazing. I can't.
Hey, you're so kind.
I can't say anything about the writing, but the art makes it. Anyway,
the writing's wonderful.
Yeah,
it's a dark story.
Well,
bad people doing bad things.
I think when I tried to convince you to do the book original, I was like, join me in the darkness.
That's right. Right. And I was a little taken aback. I go, wow, Chip's such a jovial guy, very personable. And I guess you told me that it was dark, but I went, whoa, this is kind of dark. So, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought, wow, this could really be fun visually to bring this to life and do a real noir story.
So that's basically what you got there. And, we'll take a quick look here. You can get the book digital PDF for $10, a digital bundle for $15. Let's see. 50 or more is signed and numbered with the lobby cards and digital. So I guess they're going to want you to spend 50 for the book in hardcover, but you also get it. It's signed and numbered. You get the lobby cards, plus you get the PDF version, a PDF version of the Blacking Out photo book, and then another PDF, which is a previous graphic novel that Chip did as writer with artist Francesco Francavilla. So you're going to get all that for $50. That's a pretty decent price for all that in material. So pretty good stuff there. I don't know. How many days does this thing have left? 26 days left to go. Pretty solid stuff. Potentially worth it. I'll probably review that again and see if I pick that one up. Alrighty, and that does cover our crowdfunding for the night. So that cuts us back to the previews catalog. Now, I don't know if John's still watching or not, but let me quickly look up Archie, because he was talking about that Cosmo book, and Archie does not seem to have Cosmo offered here. Oh, okay. Nope, it's not offered in this month, so I'll keep checking back though to let you know when to order it. Okay. And if I'll see what I can do about finding you the ISBN number of the first trade as well. So you can check that out there, John. But stuff I did find in previews quickly. Let's see what I took notice of real quick. I didn't really look at the free comic book day books that they were going to do, because I don't know if they're even going to do a free comic book day this year because of what happened with the COVID-19 situation. Something that might interest some people is Big Girls #1 from Image. It's basically, if you like the kaiju monsters, the men, all the monsters are men who lose themselves and become kaiju, and the women can grow into 50-foot tall women and battle the monster men. So you might be interested in that. That will be, let's see. That will be by Jason Howard of Trees fame. Actually, she's not 50 foot tall. She's 300 foot tall. Wow. Okay. Anyway, it's 32 pages. It'll come out in August for $3.99, and that should be interesting anyway. I don't know if I'm going to pre-order it, but I'll probably take a quick look at it in the store. My buddy Jimmy Robinson, best known for Bomb Queen, has a new series called Trump Card coming out. It's a 4-issue miniseries where she's basically taking on you know who, and see what happens there. And since he tends to be a little bit on the risque, it's a mature reader's book. It'll be $3.99. It comes out in late August. It's been a long time since a Bomb Queen series, though. It's been 8 years. So if you were a Bomb Queen fan, it's back time to pick it up. And they will be offering all the 7 other stories in trade paperback as well. So if you haven't been a Bomb Queen fan, you can get in from the very beginning with your local comic book shop. They can get the back orders for you. Let's see what else. A new story arc for Sea of Stars, number 6, comes in August. I'll be getting that. That's what that check mark was by the name. They had to resolicit Adventure Man number 3 from the previous catalogs due to the COVID-19 crisis. So we will definitely, if you had been following Adventure Man and haven't come out yet because of COVID-19, but if you did order it, you'll need to reorder it. It's a resolicitation. Pardon me as I go through them one by one. I'm just trying to make sure I got everything here. And Stealth number 4, which I've reviewed again, 4 out of 6. That also has been resolicited. You'll have to reorder it. If you ordered it in the past, it won't count. Make sure you reorder it. Dark Horse is a little bit messed up. I don't know. Just keep going through here. No. No. Now, in case we just did a review of Blackwood the morning after, what you saw was number 3. There's 4 issues. There'll be a 4th issue coming out next month, probably in a couple of weeks. And then in August, they'll have the trade paperback. Now, let me give you fair warning. The trade paperback is like $20. It's $19.99 for a 120-page story. Now, what you get is the 4 issues, the covers, which is all the various alternate covers, is pinups, a sketchbook section, and other pinups by Evan Dorkin, Andrew McLean, Peach Momoko, and Andy Fish. So you are going to get some artwork that isn't featured in the comics, but the comics are only $3.99 each. So if you want to get the back issues, if you can, it'll be $4 cheaper in the long run. So take your pick on that. You can either wait and get the trade for $20, maybe get a little extra work that you don't get otherwise. Or if you just want the story, I would recommend telling your retailer to back order what they can if if they can. If they can't back order the issues through Diamond, they don't have them in stock, go ahead and get the trade. That same thing with X-Ray Robot next to it. Yeah, there we go. X-Ray Robot. It'll also be like 128 pages or so. It'll be $20 as well. It's the new Mike Allred series. It collects 1 through 4 and some pinups by some different people as well. Normally it's $3.99 in the singles. As far as I know, only number 1 has come out, but who knows how they're going to be releasing things with what's happened with the COVID-19 situation. Baboon, I think I mentioned this before. I ordered it in the previous catalog. It's been resolicited. You have to reorder it, just so you know. So I'm ordering that again. And that is pretty much Dark Horse. There's some relists, but I didn't get anything out of the relist this month. I don't know if I'm going to get Kanto Part 2, the Hollow Men #1. I haven't been able to find Kanto in trade paperback to get it yet. If I can get Kanto from them in a trade, then I'll probably get Kanto too. So we'll see. And on the other page is Kill Lock, which we have talked about before in the miniseries. So if you haven't been able to get the miniseries, but you were interested in or were waiting on a trade, the trade will be offered soon. You should order it. It's going to be available in November of this year. And I'll probably do a quick, I'll go ahead and come back to this next week and give you guys the information for the ISBN number and stuff like that, so you guys can special order it ahead of time, okay? Then there's Wellington, which is a trade paperback, 128 pages for $17.99. Comes out in October. And I will, again, give more information on that next week. I'll probably order that myself. There's Bionic, which I am ordering. Another trade paperback, 192 pages for $20, available in October. Basically, this guy has a crush on a girl. She gets in an accident and is, as you can see, was repaired with all cybernetic spots all over her body. Is he still going to care about her or not, type of thing. So it's that kind of a storyline that I'm kind of interested in. Usagi Yojimbo and Usagi Yojimbo Classics. Number 12 for regular and number 7 for the classics. Not really sure how much longer the classics will go because the sales on both titles have been kind of low in recent months, so we'll see. But getting both of those. And that pretty much covers IDW for me. Marvel actually did do an August 2020 catalog inside previews. This is the first time in about 4 years that they actually did the Marvel section in previews catalog. Now, I'm not going to buy anything from Marvel, but I just want to show you guys that it's basically the same thing that you used to get in the Marvel catalog, just put in previews. They give you the order codes for each book, which ones, and all these particular stories are going with their Empire crossover event saga. I'm totally disinterested in that stuff. Sorry to say, but you know, it is what it is. You know, that's what Marvel does. So I wish that I could say I was interested in some of this stuff, but you know, I'm not going to sit there and tell you it sucks. It's just not for me. If you're a Neil Adams fan, Neil Adams is doing a new Fantastic Four called Antithesis. It's a 4-issue miniseries written by Mark Waid. Because it's written by Mark Waid, I'm not buying because I'm just not a Mark Waid fan at all. But, you know, if it was anybody else but besides Mark Waid, just about, I might have bought it. But I don't know. I'll probably take a look at it in the store, if nothing else, because it is Neil Adams, and Neil Adams is awesome as an artist. But, you know, oh well. And it's, you know, pretty much just, you know, more Marvel pages, different stuff. Nothing big deal. That's interesting. They brought back, okay. Some of the Star Wars comics they brought back some of the traditional old Marvel characters like Valance. That kind of interests me a little bit, tiny little bit. The cover here on the bottom, let's see if I can get this otherwise. That figures. That's one thing I do not like about previews. They got too many fold outs and junk that they don't need. But anyway, let's go this way. There we go. The Bounty Hunters. That's supposed to be Valance from early 80s Marvel modernized. And he looks a little bit too much like a Terminator, in my opinion. I wish they'd done a little bit different look for him, I guess, than that. But, you know, it is what it is. Collection of X-Men's God Loves, Man Kills. It's an extended cut gallery edition. For those of you who don't know, originally the book was 48 pages. Somehow they've expanded it to 120. I'm not going to get it, even though I'm an X-Men fan. I don't need a retelling of what I already own, particularly even if it is triple the size of the page count. I can't justify that. I'm sorry. But for those of you who haven't got the story and you want to get the extended edition, nothing wrong with that. It's $35 and it'll be out in December of this year. So anyway, stuff like that for Marvel. There's a few things here and there as we go through it. You know, I'm not going to go through every single page of this thing. I'm just looking for something that's I've got check marks by so you can see. I have a question mark by Disaster Inc. number 2 from Aftershock. I don't know if I got number 1. If I got number 1, I'll get number 2. But they'll have to check that with my my retailer on that one. Let's see. Dead Day number 2. I did have a check mark by it, but after reading number 1, I'm just, I don't know. I can't get into it, so I probably won't order it. I think 1 will just probably be the my limit on this one, unfortunately. Let's see. Join the Future number 4 is there. We've reviewed some of the Join the Future issues in the past. Still sticking with that one for now. We'll see where it goes. Now, Alterna is listed in the catalog. So I would assume that Alterna Comics is still available through Diamond, even though Alterna supposedly pulled the books away. I don't know what that means. I'm going to have to find Peter Cimetti and ask him about what all that's about. But hopefully we'll be able to do some stuff there. Let's see. From Behemoth Comics, there's the Osiris Path number 3. Where I got my not next to the spotlight, below my fingers. You see a little check mark in there. I'll be getting that. That's the last issue of that mini series. Sorry, my fan's rolling the pages a little back the way it's not supposed to be. Let's see. There's probably some other stuff here and there throughout, but yeah, I'll come back next week and give you a little bit more. Hexagon number 5 from Impact Theory, a few other things, but overall, it's not that bad. And John says it's bedtime. So it really is bedtime, pretty much. But, I appreciate always coming on. And so before we close out for tonight, let's see what else we have. That's pretty much it. Okay. So I'll go ahead and do my last notice. Copy regulations, rated TV 16 and up, folks, as you know. And hopefully all you parents, aunts and uncles, teachers, and librarians got some good information this week. And yay, I didn't cuss that much. You're positive today. Like I told you, be positive. If you want to reach me, you can reach me at lewis.brightraven on Facebook, deviantart.com/brightraven at deviantart. Here at YouTube, I quote the Raven, Lewis Brightraven. Gmail at quoththeRavenLBR72 at gmail.com. Or if you must, you can reach me at Yahoo, not Yuha, Yahoo mail at lewisbrightraven at yahoo.com. The regular podcast is on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next week, we'll return and talk more about this previews. We will also be reviewing Justice League Dark Apocalypse War video. I just got this, haven't watched it yet. Back issue number 120 from Tomorrow's Publishing. And if I can reach it, it doesn't want to come. It's a heavy monster of a book. Thick. Art of Plug Volume 1. I'm about halfway through it, as you can see. Monster hardcover art book, talking about one of the best comics and animation design artists of the business, Michael Plug. So we'll be reviewing this and probably 5 or 6 other books, and we'll see what else we can do for you next week. Okay? So until then, I will see you guys next week. Have a safe weekend, and